Thank you for letting us know where you're zooming in from. Today, we're going to be talking about something I haven't heard of myself, and I'm excited to have this webinar here at TechSoup. It's the first of its kind. Your individual, excuse me, not individual, invisible IT member. I'm going to show you how you can engage on the next slide. My name is Aretha Simons, and as you all know, you are here on mute. So you're going to get the recording and the slides later today or tomorrow. We would love for you to put your questions in the Q&A. We have team members here that will answer your questions in the Q&A. I am going to see somebody is requesting recording. I love that because we have AI now. So if you want recording yourself for the notes, go ahead and click on that. The closed caption, something exciting happened. You can now do it in your own language. So if you wanted it in Spanish, you can choose that. I love that. So I'm going to get ready to turn this over to Eric because they're going to tell us about Nanoheal and tell us more about him and his team from Bask. Welcome, Eric, and thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aretha. And good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for having us today. We're excited to talk about how Nanoheal is transforming the way that organizations handle IT support. This is in real time, less stress, way more efficiency. So my name is Eric Wheeler. I'm the managed services supervisor here at Bask. Over the years, I've worked with businesses of all sizes to help reduce downtime, streamline operations, empower teams through smarter tools, and Nanoheal has quickly become one of the more powerful platforms that we've ever seen. Joining me today, I've got some phenomenal teammates with me. First up is David Sheffield. He's one of our IT systems administrators. David's the guy who's been in the trenches. He's down on the ground. He knows firsthand how small, unaddressed issues can stack up and wreak havoc without the right systems in place, and how tools like Nanoheal can flip that script. We're also lucky to have a project manager here from Nanoheal. She's here behind the scenes with us to help field your questions, so please don't be shy. Drop your questions in the QA chat anytime throughout the presentation. We'll answer them live as we can. And if we happen to miss anything during the webinar, we'll follow up via email as quickly as possible afterward. So together, we're going to walk through a new approach to IT, one that's faster, smarter, and more proactive, and a lot less reactive. So let's talk about something you or someone you might not have met. But they've been working quietly behind the scenes 24/7 to keep things running smoothly. We'll call it your invisible IT team member. So imagine if the everyday tech issues that slow you down, so your laggy systems, your connection drops, your glitchy apps, surprise pop-ups, what if they just didn't happen? Not because they disappeared on their own, because let's face it, they're not going to, but because they were caught, diagnosed, and fixed before anyone had to lift a finger. That's what Nanoheal does. It is a powerful endpoint automation platform that does a lot of things. It monitors your devices in real time. It detects anomalies using performance and behavioral metrics. It applies fixes automatically without any user involvement, and it logs and reports every fix behind the scenes for full transparency. So it's like having an IT expert assigned to every single endpoint, but without the payroll hit.
So what you're saying, Eric, is that Nanoheal's automation isn't just for the sake of automation, it's smart automation.
Right.
It's constantly monitoring and collecting data, reacting to data across every machine. So by the time I check the dashboard, a lot of the problems that I used to get tickets for, they're already solved. They've already been handled by the time I look at them. We're actually talking about actual issues being resolved without all the noise, and that's a rare thing in IT.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Nanoheal's included now already with some of the TechSoup plans, so it's already helping nonprofits and small businesses eliminate that downtime, reduce tickets, and free up staff to do what they do best. So I would like to take a moment to kind of shine the spotlight on everyone here. So if you guys wouldn't mind in that chat window, let's share with us your most common IT issues. What's eating away at your time during the day? And these aren't going to be those, big ticket items. These are going to be those little annoyances, those things that pop up when you're not expecting them. So I'd like to see some issues that you guys are running into. So slow computer. Yeah, absolutely. That's top of the list. Network dropouts. Okay. Yeah, definitely see those. Oh, no. Okay. Beth, you hit it. Printer issues. My goodness. Printers are the Achilles heel of any IT person, I promise you. The internet drops, get to apps. Printer, Susan, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, definitely seeing a lot of those common issues there that we see quite a bit.
Frozen apps. Yeah. Eric, I feel like there's going to be a lot more SharePoint site building in my future. These are looking like issues that Nanohill can solve on its own, pretty much.
Yep, you're absolutely okay. Okay, let's to be fair. All right, so for those of you that aren't in on the SharePoint joke, so David here is actually an MDM specialist, but he's been handling a lot of SharePoint issues since he joined the team. So yeah, sorry, David, you're gonna have plenty of time to go to your SharePoint excitement and plenty of that to look forward to. But yeah, no, that's what we're talking about today. Getting back time to focus on what we do best. So while we're on topic, let's talk about the real cost of IT issues. So that's not going to be talking in terms of dollars, but in hours.
All right, Billy Mays. How about you tell us all about it?
All right, I don't know if I can match his energy, but I'll try. Okay, no, I'll give myself a headache if I do. So, in the nonprofit and small business world, time is your most precious resource. Everyone here is going to be familiar with that. You're balancing big goals, and what do you have? You've got finite staff, finite hours, finite resources, but that list of priorities, never ending. So, what happens when tech stalls? When you run into that slowness, you run into those frozen apps, those printer issues. It's not just a frozen screen, it's your entire momentum, it's your entire day that's frozen at that point. So those 5 minute slowdowns, 30-minute detours is what they turn into. And before you know it, your team is buried in delays instead of driving forward with your mission.
For nonprofits, I'd like to point out that a lot of nonprofits rely extensively on dedicated volunteers.
Right.
And, those folks are usually passionate about the cause, but they might not be as familiar with the tech or, with the systems that the company's using. And, that can be confusing. Sometimes it breaks, it can derail a whole day.
Hmm.
It's not just about fixing the problems, it's about getting somebody set up and running so they can hit the ground running and stay productive.
Right, exactly. And see, that's where Nanoheal actually comes in. So, with the real-time device monitoring, automated resolutions, tools like Scheduler to handle routine tasks off hours, Nanoheal is reducing friction across the entire organization. So, here's another shout out to the chat box here. So, what would your team do with an hour back today, or a full day back this month? This isn't hypothetical time we're talking about. It's the type of time-saving power that Nanoheal is delivering quietly in the background every single day. So, what would you do with your time if you had it back? Chill somewhere and travel. Absolutely. Love that. Focus on patrons' needs. Breathe. Yeah, if we need to find time to breathe. That seems to be where a lot of the time is disappearing from. Organize OneDrive. That is a full job by itself.
That's right there with the SharePoint stuff.
Right. Sleep. Okay. Leave work on time. Wow, that's a thing? People do that? Right. So with all of that, there's plenty of ways that we could spend our time much better than chasing IT issues. So let's take a look at that because let's be honest. Most IT problems that you're going to run into on the day-to-day are not going to be the ones that make headlines. They're not massive outages. They're not security breaches. They're not Microsoft, crashing and burning. It's going to be your everyday stuff that slowly grinds everything to a halt.
Yeah, I see a lot of common issues in here. Apps freezing or refusing to open unless you force quit it twice, or
Hmm.
random Wi-Fi drops during a meeting, Teams meeting issues, pop-ups, or slow computer. And I
Right.
saw one in particular that I could tell you is a great example. I saw an audio issue.
Mm.
So just yesterday, one of our guys had to troubleshoot an audio issue from a client that doesn't use Nanoheal. And, first step on that issue, they tried to resolve it themselves. They restarted the computer. Then they had to make a ticket, and then they had to get with our tech. who had to check and make sure all the audio was turned on, wasn't muted, so on and so forth, until
Right.
finally it came time to uninstall and reinstall a driver. Now, that kind of thing can take that 20 minutes of your day and condense it down into 5 minutes that Nanoheal spent fixing it, with a self help button, or it could have even caught it with the self heal, the auto heal.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, these aren't system failures you're talking about. They're momentum killers, sure. But, when your team is spending time trying to fix these or waiting for support or, whatever is coming up with this, they're not doing the work that matters. They're not there for the reason that they're at work. So Nanoheal stops that spiral. It works in two ways. Like David mentioned, first you've got auto heal. That's going to take care of a lot of your common issues automatically. So no ticket, no delay, it just gets handled. And then second is the self-help that he mentioned, which gives your team the power to fix everyday problems on their own. So simple things like browser cleanup, printer resets, driver updates, a lot of those issues that we've seen in chat just now, you click a button and it's done.
And even if something doesn't get caught right away, we
Mhm.
still have full visibility. Everything Nanoheal touches is logged in the service history. We can
Right,
see what happened and follow up as necessary.
right. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm, undermining the big problems. The big problems do happen and they do matter, but those aren't really the ones that really get us on the day to day. It's the constant stream of little ones that really wear teams down. And that's where Nanoheal is going to be helping. Nanoheal is going to be keeping those small issues from piling up. It keeps your people moving. And that means that more time is spent on your mission with less time stuck waiting on a fix. So let's flip the script for a second. So I've got a scenario for you. Picture this. You're at your desk, working on your computer. Something's off, maybe a glitch, maybe lag, but it's enough to slow you down. So, like you mentioned, David, what happens next? You try to fix it yourself, maybe try a little Google foo, and try to figure out what's going on. If you can't figure out yourself, first 10, 15, 20 minutes or so working on it, you call or email support. Then you wait for triage, and while you wait, your work is stalling, your focus breaks, your momentum's gone. Even once your issue's resolved at that point, it's really hard to get back into the rhythm of things once you've had that kind of disruption to your day. But that's reactive IT, and that's the model that most people are used to. And it does come at a cost, not just to productivity, but to overall morale.
Yeah, from the support side, we see it all the time. People get so used to problems that they stop reporting them. That
Yeah,
even happens on the tech side. We call it alert fatigue.
right.
But you know, they stop reporting them. They just live with it. They restart their machine. They try and deal with it, or just give up completely. And NanoHeal helps break that cycle. We're not waiting for someone to report a fire. We're proactively monitoring, and we're putting out even those small fires before the smoke's even smelled.
Right, exactly. So let's take a look at this with Nanoheal in the mix. So the system hiccup that we were talking about, it's fixed automatically. That's what AutoHeal is going to take care of before you even saw it. The strange browser behavior resolved with one click via the self-help button. You click through and find the issue that you're having. You click a button and Nanoheal solves the issue for you. The update that used to pop up mid-presentation, which I'm glad isn't happening here, by the way, scheduled silently after hours by scheduler. It's taken care of. It's not even a consideration at that point. No tickets, no waiting, no awkward, yes, sorry, have you tried turning it off and on again? You don't have to do that. It's the difference between, like you said, putting out the fires and making sure they never start in the first place. So Nanoheal shifts your team from reactive to proactive IT support. So people can stay focused, systems stay healthy, your mission keeps moving forward without interruption. And this is what it feels like when tech finally works for you, not against you. So let's actually take a closer look at what's happening under the hood with Nanoheal. Because this isn't just some plugin or monitoring tool. It's a full platform built for automation, and it's built to work across organizations of all sizes. So here's a quick look at what it does. So Nanoheal, first of all, like we said, it's always watching. It checks performance, network behavior, software health, all of this in real time. And it's constantly scanning for anything unusual before it becomes a problem. And then when it does find something, it doesn't wait. It's not waiting for confirmation. It doesn't want you to, pass go and collect $200. It kicks in, and it's going to apply the fix automatically. No ticket, no call, no disruption to your day.
From where I sit, that's a huge relief. A lot of the common problems I used to get ticket for, things like stuck updates, network timeouts, failed startups, printer issues, Nanoheal handles them before I even log in.
Right, and it's also adaptive too. So Nanoheal's going to learn from what it sees. It recognizes patterns, and over time, it gets better at preventing the same issues from coming back. And when something does require a person to click on something, Nanoheal makes that simple too. Like we mentioned, that's the one-click fix. Users can fix things like that browser lag or connectivity issues, printer issues with one button. So no digging through settings, no complicated IT walkthrough.
And, about that adaptability,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know how familiar here is with more traditional IT tools like RMMs, remote management and monitoring systems like Datto or Ninja One, or MDMs, mobile device management systems like Jump Cloud or Intune. You know, Nanoheal takes a lot of the great things that come from those platforms,
Mhm.
integrates them, and also adds in that adaptability, that learning, that smart. So, you know, people aren't just opening a ticket for something that they can fix in 10 seconds. It saves them
Right.
time and it saves me time.
Right, right. The built-in scheduler that Nanoheal has that lets admins set up maintenance tasks like system cleanups, updates, things like that to run during off hours. So you don't have any interruptions during your workday, but you also don't have any missed patches, and that's important too. And then, I think you briefly mentioned it earlier, but Nanoheal logs everything. Everything it does is logged. So every fix, every scheduled task, every self-help click, everything's going to be visible under that service history. So if we as technicians ever need to check what happened, we're not guessing.
Yeah, that audit trail's a lifesaver. I mean, me and Eric have worked together for years
Mhm.
and at several different companies. And
Right.
one of those companies, years back, we fought so hard just to get change tracking software. And it makes such a big difference when you know what's going on in your environment. You know when it happened, how it happened, and, you know, that makes it so much easier and better to be able to fix the system and keep it running smoothly in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. That
And
that change management for sure, because a lot of times issues that you run into in IT are because of a change that happened, right?
yep, yep. And not only that, it helps us analyze the trends and follow up on things that didn't get reported
Yeah,
and prevent them in the future.
absolutely. And that way you don't you're not going to have any ominous IT tickets hanging over your head when you're looking forward to weekend or time off or something like. Wait, so David, we do let you have time off occasionally, right?
You try not to. You try your best. But yeah, yeah, you do.
No, okay, all right. So seriously, I am joking, guys. David actually just recently took some time off, much needed, by the way. Did you enjoy yourself, David? What were you working on? Your bike, wasn't
So
it?
yeah, uh, my bike was in the shop getting a new master cylinder put on, new tires, and took some time off, got some good riding in, and it was great because I didn't have to feel as guilty. Usually you take time off, you're throwing a load back on your colleagues, and with Nanoheal there, it's working overnight, holidays, weekends,
Mhm.
whether your team's online or not. And when somebody's out on vacation, it's there to pick up that slack.
Right.
It watches, heals, adapts, and just keeps things running without getting in the way.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's take a look at a real world situation here. Um, and I am seeing some excellent questions in the chat. We're going to touch on some of these in just a few minutes. Change management is also needed for PCI compliance. Yes. Yes. So if you have compliance needs like PCI, change management is a big one that Nanoheal could help tick those boxes for. Um, see, would we need to have security like Norton Security, or do you have security included in this? So this is not a security platform by itself, but it does work hand in hand with those other security platforms. So it's not an antivirus the way that Norton Security would be. This is more for performance and your overall maintenance of your devices and compliance and making sure that they fit into the IT environment the way that they're intended to. All right, so let's bring this to the real world real quick. So this story here, it comes from a large global tech company. They are headquartered in Texas. They have over 100,000 employees, more than 500,000 devices under management. So here's what they were facing. They have a sprawling global workforce, thousands of Android tablets across locations, and constant pressure to provide fast and consistent IT support. And their efficiency was getting dragged down by a growing stack of manual tasks. So overall, the bottom line is their IT environment was way too big to babysit and far too complex for traditional support models. So they deployed Nanoheal. Here's what changed. Auto heal, one of the features in Nanoheal. They leveraged that to resolve frequent issues like battery drain, CPU spikes, browser clutter. That was all fixed in real time for them. They used the app manager to remotely patch, update, fix devices without ever having to touch them. Everything was handled remotely. And they were able to enable those remote diagnostics and resolutions through the Nanoheal portal, which gave them centralized and scalable control over their environment.
And they didn't just throw it on every machine and hope for the best. The devices were classified into logical groups based on usage and risk.
Mhm.
Workstations, kiosks, mobile devices, remote staff, you name it. They all got exactly what they needed. And when they classified them, they also set up patch rings. So updates are rolled out in controlled waves, going from less important devices all the way to your mission critical devices. That
Right.
way, if anything hiccuped in the first group, it doesn't affect your whole organization or your mission critical devices. You get to catch those things before they become a problem. With that setup, you can automate confidently without putting 500,000 or so endpoints at risk.
Right. Yeah, you definitely want to mediate that type of risk if possible. So yeah, in this particular circumstance, the result was amazing. So at this point, one agent is now able to support 2,000 devices by themselves. Nanohill took care of all the noise, those repetitive time sapping issues, uh, the things that were bogging down the team, so that the IT team could actually focus on strategy instead of firefighting. So downtime dropped, staffing stabilized, efficiency absolutely soared. And here's probably the most impactful part to me: the end users didn't even notice, and that's because everything just worked. Uh, that's what IT automation looks like in action. you know, when IT is working properly, when everything is working the way you intend it to or the way you need it to, you really don't even notice that your IT department is there. That's what we want. That's definitely what we want. Let's look at another example. So if we switch gears to another success story, this one is in the financial services sector. So this client, they are based in India, and they were managing 30,000 plus devices, and they were supporting over 10,000 employees. But their challenge wasn't just support, it was compliance. So, they were drowning in risky endpoints, blacklisted apps, jailbroken devices, no centralized enforcement or visibility. So it was compliance, but it was compliance at scale. And they needed automation, they needed control, they needed security, but what they didn't need was to hire an army of technicians. So what we did was we brought in Nanoheal and we deployed a custom security solution that was tailored to their environment. So that included data loss prevention to prevent loss of those sensitive financial data. We had mobile app and data management that blocked unauthorized or blacklisted applications to keep their environment secure. We enabled kiosk mode and telecom usage controls to lock down company-owned devices. There was real-time root and jailbreak alerts and automatic remediation over those. It gave full control over remote wipe, lock, and compliance enforcement. I mean, all of these things, and they were managed seamlessly through the Nanoheal management portal. So no having to toggle and swivel between platforms.
And one of the best parts about that is not just about catching the threats. They use Nanohill to standardize the entire fleet, defining policies by device type, function, and user role. Laptops, mobile devices, shared terminals, each one got exactly what it needed. That level of fleet wide policy enforcement brought consistency and security without slowing anyone down. It turned a chaotic device environment into a tightly managed compliance system. And also, I would really like to go back to what Eric said about they didn't even notice. Because you can talk about KPIs until you're blue in the face. I've been in call centers, I've been in IT, since 2005. And
Mhm.
you always get those KPIs. But to me, the best KPI of all is when I don't hear anything from my clients.
Right.
That means they're working smoothly. I've been doing my job in the background. My tools have been doing their job, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, 100%. And, in this case, the results speak for themselves as well. So just like before, we've got a single agent that's now handling and supporting multiple devices on their own. Uh, Productivity, their reported productivity increased by 14%. Non-compliant devices was above 30% when we started, and it dropped to under 2%. So that's going well beyond traditional IT support. That is security and compliance automation. And it's all wrapped up in a user friendly platform that scales effortlessly to your organization. So whether your mission is social impact or secure finance, NanoShield's going to keep your devices compliant, optimized, and as problem free as possible. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Let's look at what the day would look like without Nanoheal. We've talked about this, but I want to really put it into perspective because it's a really familiar story. The first step is a disruption. Something breaks, system glitch, network hiccup, app refuses to cooperate. You're stopped in your tracks. Your entire day is derailed at this point. So what do? Try to fix it yourself, waste some time on Google, maybe ask ChatGPT what to do, and then you contact support. So you send an email, you call, open a ticket, walk down the hall, whatever your process is to engage your IT department, you're, reaching out for help at this point. And then you wait and sometimes wait. And then after you're finished waiting, you wait a little bit more. You're waiting for a reply, you're waiting for triage, you're waiting for someone to remote in. Either way, you're waiting. You're not being productive during this time. And then once someone is available, then you have to explain the problem again and maybe even reproduce it so that the technician can see what's happening. So that's more time spent on this issue, more disruption, and then it gets fixed. Maybe. Sometimes, hopefully it gets fixed. But sometimes it's a partial fix, a workaround, or just gets bumped down the queue.
Honestly, that's the part that wears people down, both on the end users and the tech support side.
Right.
By the time the ticket even reaches us, the end user's already frustrated. They've lost their time, they've lost their momentum. You know, we're often starting from scratch, trying to diagnose what went wrong after the fact. It's reactive, it's messy. It leaves
Yeah.
both the user and the tech feeling like they're always behind.
Right. That's reactive support, David. That's what traditional reactive support feels like. And guys, if this sounds familiar, we've all been there, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's the story that Nanoheal is changing. So let's look at the same situation, but this time with Nanoheal. So with your invisible IT team member, before we even get to the disruption, we're not going to have that. That picture's not going to come up because it's not going to happen. Auto detect because Nanoheal is always monitoring your devices. So if something starts to go wrong, so say a program locks up or you get an error message, Nanoheal is already reading it, analyzing it, figuring out what's happening. It's tracking performance, network status, and software behavior 24/7. And most of the time, it's going to catch that problem before you even realize something's off. And as soon as it detects the issue, AutoHeal is going to apply the right fix. No delay, no ticket, no need to call anyone, no need to beat your head against the desk. It just handles it quietly in the background. And then the next step is that there's not a next step. You just keep working. You don't stop, you don't reboot, you don't troubleshoot, you just keep going. And whatever would have interrupted your workflow is already taken care of.
And on our side, it's going to be tracked, and that kind of visibility is huge.
Hmm.
We don't have to guess anymore. We're saying exactly what happened, when it happened, what Nanoheal did to fix it. That's all captured in the service history. So if we need to do more follow up, we have the full context. And more importantly, we're not spending our day chasing small reactive issues anymore.
Right.
Nothing repetitive. Instead of reacting to noise, we get to focus on improving systems and keeping things running smoothly and getting better over time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what proactive support looks like. So, you're not focusing on the drama, there's no delay, just smooth, uninterrupted work. So, when you take a step back and look at everything that Nanoheal is doing, so monitoring, fixing, learning, optimizing, it really comes down to one core thing.
And that's the time that it's going to give your team back.
Right, exactly. And with that time, people can actually focus. They're not chasing down tech issues. They're not restarting machines. They're not waiting on support to jump in.
From our side, we're not buried under tickets for things like printer resets or patch failures. Nanohair takes care of that noise for us so that we can actually work on improving the systems instead of just putting out the fires.
Right. And that it's a shift. So, we've been talking about the reactive and the proactive, and that's what we're doing. We're shifting from reactive to proactive with Nanoheal, and that changes absolutely everything. Programs launch faster, clients get support without delay, people stop working around broken tools and actually get back to doing their jobs.
And it's a win for us too in IT. You know, less time diagnosing issues after the fact, more time to look ahead, fine tune environments, get help the whole organization run smoother. And maybe, just maybe, I'll finish with all those SharePoint tests that Eric assigns me, and I'll get to dive into more of what I love.
Yeah. Well, it all adds up. Every bit of it. Every second that you save from those tech issues is time that you can reinvest. So you reinvest it back into your team, into your impact, into your mission overall. So I guess the only question left at that point would be what happens next.
Well, I guess ideally people stop losing hours to tech issues that should have been fixed before they were even noticed.
Exactly. So if anything we talked about today feels just a little too familiar, if your team is still stuck restarting, waiting, calling for help, you don't have to stay in that cycle.
And if you're already using one of TechSoup's monthly or annual plans, NanoHeal's already included. That means AutoHeal, Self-Help, Scheduler, it's all already working for you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not on a plan yet, getting started simple too. So plans start at $39 a month. Setup is flexible, so you can deploy NanoHeal through SCCM, Intune, or just install it manually, whatever fits your environment.
If you're not sure where to start, just scan that QR code or check the link. Someone from our team will help figure out the best path forward for you.
Right. Yeah. And just to be clear, because I know that stacking more tools on top of more tools isn't exactly ideal. That's not what we're doing here. Nanoheal isn't here to add more tools to your stack. It's here to take the friction out of the ones that you already rely on every day. So no clutter, no extra complexity, just fewer interruptions and more time for the work that matters to you.
And with that, we'd love to hear from you.
Yep. So if you've got questions, drop them into Q&A chat now. We'll start answering live in just a moment. And if we don't get to your question during the session, we'll make sure to follow up with you directly afterwards.
And don't hold back. Ask us anything.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's open it up to questions. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. We appreciate it. I suppose, back to you, Aretha. We're going to be closing out with a little bit of QA here.
Okay, I can read the Q&A for you. Um, okay, somebody's got their answer. Question about the comment above. Okay. Does this replace MDM or MAM? Do you know? And does it integrate with Intune? Anybody can answer that question?
Sorry, it was,
Can you guys hear me?
does it integrate with
MDM, this from Tasia. Do you see that question from Tasia in the Q&A?
It doesn't integrate with Intune, but it can be installed via Intune.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And there were some great questions in the chat as well. I'll go ahead and finish these. And Matt says, to extend the question further about the device driver installs, does Nanoheal also work with auto elevate or allow IT to set users up for being able to request with a few clicks access to install something on their computer that IT can approve via an app message in real time? Great question.
That is a fantastic question. Yes. So it does not currently work like Auto Elevate. What it does is it Nanoheal runs as a system user. So it's going to be applying everything on the system level on the endpoints.
I can expand on that a little bit.
Mhm.
It does have the white and black listing, and if a user does need assistance, it will give us a message. I did ask this. This was one of my asks.
Okay. Matt says, are there integrations into third-party common systems like Google Workspace or Office 365 that allow staff with the appropriate RBA to self-solve needs?
Are there integrations into third-party common systems, Google Workplace, allowing staff with appropriate RBA? That is a fantastic question. Divya, can you give some insight on that?
If you're speaking, you're on mute.
Sure, Eric. I was just going through the rest of the questions so that I could probably, answer some of them over chat. Which one are we looking at? Are there integrations, third-party common systems, Google Workspace, Office 365, allowing staff with the appropriate RBA to self-solve needs? So are we referring to, requests that are coming in terms of, I need this application to be installed, or I need this additional access, or I need XYZ from IT. If that is a requirement, Nanoheal can definitely have a simple chat integration added, right? Where these requests can be raised and they can be integrated with Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, right? They can be indirectly integrated even with something like Office 365 forms where these requests can be raised. Now, if the organization is slightly larger and they say they have a ticketing system, Nanoheal can also be integrated with that, so that these requests that are coming in via chat, can be raised as a ticket that will directly go to the IT department.
Awesome. And piggyback on that question about integrating with Office 365, Abdul says, what sort of access level or security implications are there?
So Nanoheal does not make any changes in Microsoft 365 environment, right? Especially it does not make any changes in Active Directory. It picks up whatever permissions, whatever policies that may have been set over there, right? So it's usually a one-way communication where certain policies or rules or whatever you have defined in Office 365 can be picked up by Nanoheal and implemented. And the information that goes from Nanoheal to Office 365 would, as I said, would essentially be very limited, right? I can even put a cap on it and say that, just create these forms for me in Office 365, or, just have this Excel sheet filled up for me with, whatever are the requests that are coming in from my users.
Okay, great. And Kirk says, can you give an overview, the structure of Nanoheal, the servers, the agent, the networking, etc.?
That is an interesting question. So I would say that, Nanoheal is a fairly simple application when it comes to the architecture, right? It has a simple client to server model. Now, during the conversation, Eric and David spoke a lot about, automation, spoke about scheduled automation. I'm assuming, there was some conversation about, being able to execute something remotely, right? So it has a server component where you can go ahead and configure whatever you want Nanoheal to do, right? It can be setting up permissions, it can be creating these automations, having softwares that are approved to be installed in your IT systems, right? All of that gets defined on the server. And as soon as a device comes online, as soon as a device that has a Nanoheal client, pre-installed comes online, it hits the server, gets this information, and has that information locally saved on the Nanoheal client for the end users to use. Right now, the beauty of the software is that, say you are working or you're traveling, or you are in a place where internet is a little choppy. Nanoheal does not really rely upon an internet connection to run most of its automations, right? Of course, if the automation curtails downloading and installing something, you would need an internet connection. But say if the automation does not have any dependency on an internet connection, Nanoheal can work remotely, right? Nanoheal can essentially work in an offline environment.
Okay, great.
Um,
Um, I'm sorry, were you going to say something else?
Yeah, I'm hoping that that's the kind of information they were looking for when they asked that question.
Okay. I'm going to answer a few more in the Q&A, and then I'm going to go to the chat. Just a friendly reminder, this is being recorded. So if you miss any part of it, you'll get the recording and the slides later today or tomorrow. Tasia says, can this auto renew certificates with Apple Business Manager or something? Is it auto renew probably your subscription?
Can it auto renew certificates?
Hey,
So to use an MDM with Apple Business, you have to have a certificate that has to be renewed yearly. I think that's what they're getting at. And I don't know that it has that functionality. Our certificate renewals haven't come up since we started using Nanoheal. So
okay. Maybe Justin could chime in. It says, is this included if we use TechSoup as your MSP? A couple people asked that in the chat as well. If you're speaking, Justin, you're on mute, or anyone can answer this question.
Yeah, sorry about that. So these aren't included with our help desk offers. I did post a link to those in the chat, but I can refresh that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the last one in the chat, in the Q&A, and then we'll go to the chat. Eddie says, we've heard a lot about great information about Nanoheal, but I'd like to hear more about what it looks like to the end user, what messages they see, or they ask for feedback, probably like a demo.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you'd like to have a demo, please feel free to reach out to us directly for that. The reason that we didn't go too far into like the user interface and things like that in this presentation is because a demo for Nanoheal usually takes between 45 minutes to an hour, because there's just so much to go over. Nanoheal is a very, very customizable application. So even on the user interface that you see on the endpoint, the categories that pop up, the self heal buttons, or the user buttons that you can click on for the self heal, these are all completely customizable on the administration level, so that it's rolled out to all of the endpoints that are on that tenant. So yes, we would be more than happy to show you the entire interface, if you would like to schedule a demo with us.
Awesome. Somebody's already scanned the QR code, but they said the QR code price was 35 instead of 39. So that's a good
Oh,
thing.
goodness. I'm so sorry about that. So the price that you see on the slide here is actually accurate. So the 39 includes the Nanoheal, which has been baked into the help desk offering.
Okay. Victoria wants to know who owns the company, how long has the company been in existence, where are the employees located for
So
Nanoheal?
Divya, would you like to take that one?
All right, all right. So Nanoheal as a company has been in existence for, I would say, 11, 12 years now. So, we primarily focus on a lot of enterprise business, right? So we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies in the enterprise space. I don't want to name everybody, but our customers kind of fall into manufacturing sectors. We have a lot of government organizations that are using our software. We have large automobile manufacturers using it. We have customers in food and beverages industries, right? So essentially, anybody that you can think of as a large corporate, conglomerate or a large enterprise usually uses a Nanoheal, right? So on the enterprise division, usually the amount of customers that we take in a single account are 30 to 35,000. I would say that is the average size of the customers that are coming to us. Now, when we had a conversation with Bask, we came to the conclusion that the software can actually be used by organizations of smaller size, and that's the whole reason we are here, right? So we have employees across the globe. Our engineering does happen in India, but we do have employees in the US. We do have employees in Manila, right? The team that is outside the country is primarily for sales and support, but product and engineering happens out of India.
Thank you for sharing that. A lot of people are asking, is this the price per device, this $39?
Yes, so that is price per device.
Okay. And someone in the Q&A, what is the resource footprint with processor and memory, etc.?
I want to circle back to that last question, Eric, since it's included in the TechSoup sub. That $39 per device, does that also cover help desk too?
Yes, so that is help desk for that device and does include the Nanoheal. Yeah,
Just
thank
wanted
you
to
for
clarify what you're
yeah,
getting with that package.
yeah, thanks for that, David. Good call out. Resource footprint. That's that's going to be another technical question for you, Divya.
All right. Yeah, I was just about to, jump on that question when I wanted to circle back to the previous one. So one of the things that I do like about the software is that it is extremely nimble, right? When the software, the if you look at the installer in itself, I would say that it is about 85 to 90 MB, when it is packaged as a EXE. So, it makes distributing this piece of software extremely network friendly, right? Because it does not take a lot of bandwidth. Now, after the software is installed, the size that it takes up would be about 300 to 350 MB, just so that it does not eat up a lot of space on the hard disk, right? And when Nanoheal is in an idle condition, when I mean idle condition, when it is not doing something, when it is not installing a software or when it is not running an automation, I would say that it uses less than 1% of the CPU, 1% of memory, 1% of the entire network utilization on the computer, right? But what happens is when it has to do an operation, it spikes up a little, right? Maybe from 1% to, it would probably go up to a 5% of memory utilization or 8% of memory utilization, depending on how heavy the automation is, right? If it has to, say, run a sequence of steps, right? Say it has to run 20 or 25 sequence of steps, then I would say that the CPU or the memory would spike up slightly, but it is only for an instance, right? After the operation is done, it comes back to, less than 1% memory or CPU utilization. And when it comes to the network, the only time Nanoheal will, access the network is one, if it has to download an EXE or download a software from somewhere, right? And the second time it would access the network would be to hit its own servers to check if there is a new command that is waiting for it, right? If there is a new automation that is configured, if there is a new instruction, that needs to be executed on the endpoint device. And when this operation happens, the data that gets transferred is in KBs, right? So you can be rest assured that by having the software, neither memory, not not CPU, not the storage or the network would get clogged.
Well, thank you for that. I wanted to, before we close out, just remind you that this is being recorded. You're going to get the recording. There's going to be a survey that's going to pop up when you exit Zoom. If you would fill that out, just 2 questions. I wanted to ask Eric and David if they had any final words. I'll go to you first, David. And I love your voice. You got the radio voice.
You know, what I have to add as somebody who has worked in an MSP environment for years and somebody who specializes in MDM, Nanoheal has really intrigued me. I'm glad I've got the opportunity to work with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
So on my side of it, I'm a huge fan of automation. I've been following like the AI trend ever since Google and ChatGPT started butting heads publicly. I love the possibilities that open up when you have machine learning applied to things like this. And from a technician's perspective and from a management perspective, Nanoheal is absolutely indispensable at this point because of how integrated it can get and how customized you can make it to your environment. So, I mean, it's definitely worth the look.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you'd like a demonstration of the product, there's a link in the chat that Justin put in there. Go ahead and grab that. I'll wait a few seconds. I just want to thank you all for being here and staying to the end.
Yes.
Congratulations. We'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.